Okay, let's dive in. We've got this fascinating stack of sources you shared, all focused on tourism in India. And what strikes me right away is this isn't just the postcard view, is it? The picture painted here is really complex. Culture, economy, global links, it's all woven together.
Exactly. And that's what we want to do in this deep dive. Kind of unpack these sources, pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising bits, basically give you a shortcut to getting a really good handle on India's whole tourism landscape.
Sounds good. And the sources really seem to start by grounding us in, well, just how old India is.
Yeah, they make a big point of that 5,000-year history. It's fundamental. When you talk tourism there, that deep past isn't just background noise. It's, the foundation for so much of the appeal.
And you see that directly in the places highlighted. The sources mention, what is it, 42 UNESCO World Heritage Sites now,
Yeah.
as of 2024?
42, yeah. That's a lot. And it really speaks to that history. Think about the examples given, the Taj Mahal, obviously, but also Qutub Minar, Hampi. These aren't just sites. The sources frame them as like windows into ancient Indian art philosophy.
Glimpses into another world, almost.
Pretty much tangible connections to that deep past.
But it's not just history and architecture drawing people in.
Sure.
The spiritual side comes through really strongly in the material.
Oh, absolutely. Huge driver. Millions of people. Pilgrims are drawn to spiritual hubs. Places like Varanasi, Rishikesh, Bodh Gaya, Amritsar get mentioned specifically.
And these are centers for major religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism.
Exactly. So this whole concept of religious tourism, as the sources call it, is massive,
Yeah,
especially for domestic travel.
right. And it seems like it also helps keep cultural traditions alive, the act of pilgrimage itself.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point the sources make. It's like heritage protection through practice. It shows how deeply culture, religion, and travel are intertwined there.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit from the ancient to the ground itself, the geography. The sources really emphasize India's natural diversity.
It's pretty stunning. I mean, the range highlighted is incredible. You go from the Himalayas, the highest mountains in the world.
Down to tropical beaches.
Yep.
Quite the spectrum.
Totally. And they list specific examples of what that means for visitors. So Himalayas, that's trekking, skiing, finding those scenic retreats.
And then the Ghats. Western and Eastern Ghats are mentioned for biodiversity.
Right, which links into ecotourism, wildlife safaris. Then you've got Kerala's backwaters, Rajasthan's deserts, Darjeeling's tea gardens.
Even the Andaman Islands and their coral reefs.
It just keeps going. That kind of variety in one country is pretty unique globally.
And it means India can appeal to so many different types of travelers, yeah. Adventure seekers, nature lovers, people just wanting to relax.
And what's interesting is how this ties into trends the sources mention, like ecotourism and sustainable tourism.
Ah, okay. So
So,
there's more awareness
yeah.
now among tourists in the industry.
Seems so. Especially about protecting these amazing, sometimes fragile natural spots. So the geography isn't just a backdrop, it's pushing towards more responsible travel.
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk about the money side, the economic impact. The sources have some pretty big numbers.
They do. Pre-pandemic 2019, tourism was contributing over 9% to India's GDP. That's significant.
A really big slice.
And it's not just GDP. Think about jobs. Millions of jobs, direct and indirect.
Right, across everything from transport and hotels.
To handicraft sellers, food stalls, tour guides, it ripples through the whole economy.
And the sources track the recovery after the pandemic hit. What's driving the comeback?
Well, they point to a few things. Strategic investments, particularly in infrastructure. Better digital connectivity helps people plan and book. And maybe, obviously, a bigger focus on hygiene standards.
Okay, and the material distinguishes between international visitors, inbound tourism, and domestic tourism. Right?
Yes, it does. For inbound, key countries mentioned are places like the USA, UK, Russia, Australia.
And India is encouraging this with things like the incredible India campaign we've all seen and making visas easier, the e-visa system.
Exactly. That e-visa covers over 150 countries now, making access much simpler.
But the domestic side is also booming.
Oh, absolutely thriving.
Yep.
The sources suggest Indians are exploring their own country much more, partly more disposable income, better connections within India, and yeah, social media trends play a role too.
So while international visitors bring in foreign currency,
The sheer volume of domestic travel creates this really strong, resilient base for the whole industry. It's a key dynamic.
now something else that stood out was this focus on medical and wellness tourism. That feels like a real niche India is carving out.
It really does. It's positioned as a global hub. One reason highlighted is cost-effective, high-quality healthcare. complex procedures available at world-class hospitals, but more affordably than in many Western countries.
And people are coming from specific regions for this.
Yeah, the sources mention patients often travel from the Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia for medical treatment.
But it's not just hospitals. There's the wellness aspect, too. Ayurveda, yoga.
Right. That traditional side has huge global appeal. And the sources don't just say India offers this, they say it's becoming a leading destination for holistic wellness.
Interesting. Are certain areas known for this?
Definitely. States like Kerala, Uttarakhand, Karnataka get mentioned as really capitalizing on this. They're integrating traditional healing, like Ayurveda, right into modern hotels and resorts. It's not just a clinic visit, it's part of the travel experience.
And government support helps here. The AWSH initiatives.
Yeah, those initiatives specifically promote and develop traditional Indian medicine systems. That definitely seems to be boosting India's unique advantage in this growing market.
Okay, so there's clearly enormous potential, growth, unique strengths, but the sources are balanced. They also point out the challenges.
Yes, they're quite clear about the hurdles. Infrastructure gaps are a big one, especially when you get away from the main cities and tourist trails into more remote areas.
Service quality is another point raised. Inconsistent standards. Maybe lack of trained staff sometimes.
Exactly. And then there's over-tourism. Certain popular spots are getting damaged ecologically. That's a major sustainability concern.
Safety concerns are also mentioned, particularly for solo travelers, female travelers.
Oh.
An ongoing issue that needs attention.
Right. And finally, seasonality. The fact that tourism flow can really fluctuate depending on the time of year, which makes planning and staffing tricky.
So, a fair few challenges.
Mm.
How do the sources suggest India tackles these? What's the way forward?
It seems to be a multi-pronged approach. First, just continuing to invest in infrastructure, but making it smarter, more connected.
Okay. And dealing with overcrowding.
By actively promoting lesser-known destinations, trying to spread tourists out more evenly, open up new areas.
And the sustainability angle.
Making sustainable practices standard. Not just a nice-to-have, but essential, especially to combat that ecological damage from too many visitors in one place.
Technology plays a role, too.
Yeah, enhancing digital platforms, maybe even using AI for better trip planning or experiences, improving the overall visitor journey.
And finally, addressing that service quality point directly.
Through education, a real focus on tourism training, skill development for people working in the industry.
Okay, so if we pull back and look at the whole picture from these sources, the deep history, the geography, the economics, the challenges.
The big takeaway seems to be just how dynamic tourism in India is. It's this blend of culture, economy, even diplomacy, and now, crucially, sustainability.
It really underscores the potential, not just to grow, but maybe to become a genuine world leader in tourism, offering something really unique.
Absolutely. With that history, that diversity, the economic weight, and these specialized areas like wellness, the potential is immense.
So, considering everything we've discussed, this unique mix of incredible strengths and, some very real challenges outlined in the material, here's a thought to leave you with. What single aspect of India's tourism story, whether it's a strength like the spiritual draw or a challenge like infrastructure, do you think is the most critical piece for its future success? Or maybe just the part you find most interesting to explore further?
That's a great question to ponder. It really encapsulates the complexity.
Indeed. Well, thank you for sharing these sources with us.